How's the background audio sound to you guys? Sounds good to me.
Good.
I'm good.
Hello, Josh. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for popping in so early, as always. Good question. How are you today, Evelyn?
I am fine.
Fine does not sound overly rejoicing. Fine is what people say when they don't want to answer that question. Just let this pre-roll run for a bit while folks pop in. Just got their notifications.
And their ad. Don't forget their ad.
Well, if they're a sub, they should not get the ad, right? I have.
Right.
My sub
Subs don't get ads.
Yeah, my sub just ran out.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to out you like that, Patrick.
Oh,
I wasn't
stop.
trying to.
What are you doing?
Freely, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I just threw shade at my guest.
Hey, I can't do it on my phone.
You can if you go to the desktop version. You just can't do it through the mobile version.
Gotcha. How did you know? How does
Wait,
she know
I've
so
subbed-
much?
What? No, I've subbed through the mobile version.
You can if you have sub coins, but if you want to do it with with the normal way, like if you have a Prime sub, because I use my Prime sub for this channel,
the
you
Prime sub.
you can't. You have to
Okay.
do that on the desktop version. But if you have the tokens, you can do it on the
That
mobile
makes
app.
sense. Like typically, what I do because hey Mike, good to see you.
And
on the mobile
before-
app. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and before the sub tokens were even a thing, you had to do it through the desktop version. It was the only way to do it before.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, like on my iPhone or on my iPad, I can sub, but I sub through paying for it. Like I sign up and I hit my PayPal or whatever, and I can do it. But the Prime,
Right.
I don't even know who has my Prime sub. Someone has my Prime sub. I did that a long time ago. Hey, Josh, Mike, folks popping in already. We've got a different setup tonight happening for audio. I'm really tired of asking the question how the audio sounds, but trust me, there's a reason I'm doing this. Every time is different. So tonight, how do we sound? So I'm going to say, my name is John, and I am glad to see you. We'll just do one of Evelyn and Mike, because you guys both sound the same to me. So Evelyn, go ahead and say something.
Hi, how are you all doing tonight?
Hey, AAA, good to see you. All right, and Patrick?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
All right, yeah, Patrick sounds really good to me. Sounds better than I do in my own ears, so something happening with the SMB. So everyone, how did the audio sound? Are you hearing the background music? Yeah, they are louder than me. Okay, well, so I think this is the difference between Zoom and what's happening in Slob. So I'm going to go ahead and turn mine back up, and it may sound a bit crackly to you, which we'll fix later. Oh, thank you very much, Mike. Again, I'm not trying to out my my participants tonight.
Just barely, like same thing. I looked at him like, wait a minute.
If you're a sub and your sub is expired, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Hey.
Great, thank you so much, Iculus. Good to know it sounds better for you guys. It's probably a little crackly for my Zoom folks, but just deal with it tonight. It's all the intricacies and idiosyncrasies of the tech that we're running here. But we're going to kick this off.
As long as I can hear you, that's what matters most.
That's all. Yeah, you don't have the muting, the random muting that was happening a few weeks ago, right?
That was an exciting time in Blue Box history.
Oh, exciting. I love your use of words there. I don't think that's what I would call it, but I'll take that.
Kept us all on our tiptoes. What is he saying? What is happening right now?
Did his lips say crit? I can't tell.
Did he just say we all got skewered? Okay.
Funny.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off tonight. And here we go with episode, let me get the right one. And actually, I'll change that over before I switch. Episode 51 of Loremaster's Arcanum here at Blue Box. We are talking all the glories of 3D printing. I like the title Summon Monster because that's what you do. You summon your PCs, you summon your monsters, your familiars, you summon trees, you summon rocks, you summon bridges and mountains. You are a god when you have a 3D printer, and you can create anything that your imagination and your STL file allows. So we're good to have all of you with us tonight. So thankful to have Mike, DM Dingbat, and Evelyn, of course, as always. And then you see Patrick Fraley17 over here as well on my side. So we'll let each of them introduce themselves, talk about their streams. Mike's got a great stream, talk about their work and what they do, and then we're going to jump into the content tonight. We want everyone to ask questions. I want this to be a great Q&A session tonight. We're talking the tech. We're going to actually do a live 3D print in the room today. So the folks on Twitch can see Patrick has a 3D printer right off his left shoulder, and that sucker's going to fire up in a minute. We got giveaways tonight. It's going to be a fun time, and I know we have a lot of you that were waiting for this episode. So we're going to talk the tech, different types of 3D printing, the way it works, the process of it, the cost, all the sort of hidden variables, and we're also going to talk about, hang on one second.
Oh, you want that?
I do want that. We're going to talk about what real old school looks like. Patrick Fraley17 brought in today all of the old school character sheets. I talk a lot about graph paper dungeons. He's got his original, trying not to harm any of this. Many of you will remember these guys. This was Hercules,
Yep.
his PC when he was 12 years old. This is so fun. So we're going to look through some of this tonight and talk about the origins of the game. With that said, let's start off with you, Mike. Introduce yourself, talk about what you do, your streams, anything else you'd like to discuss, your socials, all that.
Cool. So you guys probably see me bounce around here, DM Dingbat. My name's Mike Dingman. I am just a nerd that likes to play D&D and do all the sorts of nerdy stuff. I have a stream that I'm running bi-weekly right now with a group of family and friends. DM Dingbat on Twitch, on Instagram, if you want to jump on and see all the stuff I print, some of the attempts I make at making terrain and all that good stuff. Yeah.
And so either you can pop that in the chat or Evelyn can pop it, either one of you. But I'm not going to let you just say just. You're not just anything, man. Like you're what this whole community is about. You're a gamer. You love it. You love the imagination, the creativity, and also you're a supporter of the community. You've been so active in our chat. You're active on Discord. You're on every stream. So you are not just anything, my friend, except awesome. You are just awesome. But tell us about these two streams that you run.
Oh, well, right now it's just bi-weekly, so every other Saturday. I have a group that we started just running a campaign with my son, who got me back into it a few years back. But we just finished about a year and a half, almost 2-year-long campaign. And then Saturday, right before your session one, was my session one that we did for a completely homebrew world that I've been trying to throw together for about 2 years. Everybody got a little antsy, so they pushed me to get it done faster. So we jumped into it full bore on Saturday, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So.
Well, that's awesome, Mike. And how old is your son?
He is right now 21. So I started playing, when I was like in the early 80s with my older brothers, and then took a long chunk where I didn't play it at all until my son got a little older, 16, 17, 18, started asking, hey, what's it all about? So he grabbed the starter kit, and I ran my wife through some. He plays her once in a while, but a nephew of mine that DMs, he's got his own amazing stuff he does.
That's
so we
awesome.
threw together and kept playing it. Yeah, and we almost did TPK the whole party too. Robert.
Well, look,
that's why I was laughing so hard on yours, because I had 4 out of the 6 that were making death rolls in my first campaign session on Saturday. So
yeah, but they all survived, correct?
Yeah, barely.
So they did well on those death rolls, but they were close to it. I felt really bad last night for Josh. I don't want to do a spoiler, but I was not kidding when I said Liam was one of my favorite PCs, and that's no insult to any of the others. They're all great PCs, but Josh put so much work. I've never had, Patrick, I've never had a player give me a list of every NPC in the establishment where he works.
Wow.
38
Fantastic.
Different NPC names with descriptions in that freaking backstory.
I would love to get that kind of backstories for mine.
Oh, and then he gets skewered through the heart on the first session. I know, Tim, you weren't just cheering for the TPK. You were trying to prompt the TPK the night before. You're a bad influence. Now you have been outed. No, but that sounds so much fun, Mike, and we're glad to have you with us tonight. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick, you have been a huge part of the Blue Box community. You were part of the first Blue Box Con last year. Everybody saw your 3D prints and your gorgeous models. I still have a BBEG sitting up here on the shelf, which has not emerged yet, but when it does, it will reap woe upon my players. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing today.
Well, I played like the character sheets when I was like 10 to probably about 15, and then high school comes in, and actually our freshman year of high school, we actually had a D&D club at school, which was pretty cool. And then I didn't play for many years because life happens, marriage, kids, everything's like that. Then my son goes off on a trip and comes back and says, "Hey, we played D&D on this trip." I said, "You did what?" He said, "We played D&D." I was like, "Oh, really? Let me go show you something." So I go in the attic and pull out all first level books, first edition books, character sheets, pulled out my tackle box back then that we used for miniatures, set it all out.
Who didn't have a tackle box?
Yeah,
that's so true.
You got to have a tackle box. And then his friends were like, "Well, we want to start playing." I was like, "Oh yeah, it's on now." So then that was probably about 4 years ago. So that's kind of what got me back into it. And then 3D printing happened after I ran out of enough foam to choke a horse. So started looking at what I could do to enhance the table, and that's where 3D printing came in.
Wow, no, so tell us about this castle first of all, because I've talked about graph paper a lot on my streams, and this is a really nicely detailed.
Well, it's a square castle, so it because the paper square, that's what we went with back then. But it's got enough ballistas on it to repel any army. The inner level is where you live, and the outer level is where you do all your battles. So that's huge back then. Graph paper was your life.
It's before we had Fantasy Grounds, right?
Yeah.
And Tailspire and all that good stuff. That's awesome. So thank you for joining us tonight. And I'll show you here quickly. We have in the room, you can see Patrick has this beast. We also have a close-up view, so we're going to watch the printer bed. You can see this now on the Twitch stream when that begins moving. And then we've got some stuff from Mike tonight that we're going to show on his screen. And so I won't do that just yet because I don't know if he's ready, and he might have something up on the screen he doesn't want us to see, but we'll show that in a moment. Evelyn, we shout you out every night, and so just give us a quick overview of what you're working on and where you're at.
You cut out.
Did I?
For the first time in weeks.
Yeah. No, I know why, too. I can see it happening. It's part of this driver issue I mentioned, so let's just roll it. It should happen once or twice tonight, not every
I just didn't hear what you said.
So I was saying, tell us about what you're working on.
Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. I'm mostly here on BlueBoxRPG 3 times a week. You can catch me on Rune Lords campaign on Sunday, part of Greyhawk Awakening on Tuesday nights, and I'm here tonight, as I am usually on Wednesdays. And then other than that, Monday nights at 9 Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, I'm over on Machiki D Twitch channel playing Extinction Curse, which is a Pathfinder 2E module. So yes.
Well done. And yes, you live by the crit, you die by the crit. Well said, Robert. Thank you, Mike. I thought it was a fun stream, and there's a lot more to come. Greyhawk Awakening is just getting started. Our Rune Lords campaign on Sunday, I think, has really blossomed with the addition of Markov, Chandler. The whole story is getting to be so much fun. So thank you, everyone, for being part of what we do here. All right. 3D printing. I'd like to start with you, Patrick. And let's talk about the machine that you have here. And if you want to fire it up at any point.
Sure.
So you got the Ender
The Ender 3.
Okay.
So this one's probably, I don't know, what would you say, Mike? 5 years old, maybe a little further back than that.
Yeah, ish.
So this would be like the base model of the Ender 3. You have the Ender 3 V2. You have the Ender 3 Pro, and then they go up in different. You got the Ender 6 in CR10 in that same model. So when I was researching 3D printers, I went to affordability, basically workhorse, something that a lot of people gave good reviews on, things like that. And so I was torn between, I forget what the other one was, but the Ender just kept coming back as this is the one you want to get, because I think I bought this one on Amazon for, this was probably 3 years ago, for maybe $250. I think they're on Amazon now, closer to $200.
Wow.
And so, but now you can go up in printer and you can pay $1,000 for a very nice printer, or you can go, a little cheaper, because I'm not like Mike was saying, I'm not a pro. I'm just a guy who wants to tinker, make some cool stuff, and then put it on the table.
All right, so I want to pause right there. That's going to kick off in a second.
It's heating up.
It's heating up the filament. So, but you could spend $1,000.
Sure.
Different devices, but also differences in technology. And I'd like to start the discussion there. I again want to encourage everyone in the chat, pop all your questions. Evelyn, tonight, if you could please help with this. Any questions, technologies, process, anything you guys want to know about. Neither one of these guys are professionals. They're very humble, so they keep telling me that, but they know a lot about this stuff and they do it all the time. So to me, they're professionals. Mike, I mentioned to you, I wanted to talk about the different types of 3D printing technology, and as a geek, I love talking about the tech. And we're using filament extraction here, but there are all kinds of different tech. I'm going to switch to your screen. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So,
like I said, Ender 3, a lot of those are based on your FDM, the filament. Basically what it is, the fused deposit modeling melts down the plastic or the filament, layers it at a time, depending on how big your build plate is. But there's a lot of different types of 3D printing. That one is a workhorse for you name it. Parts depending on the filament you use too. You can have flexible parts for cars, for tool racks for your garage. You name it. There's different STL files out there that you can find, and depending on how strong you need it, the types of filament that you use, all of that stuff. I know there's several guys in the Blue Box chat that when we're chatting 3D printing that know a ton. So if they're in here, please jump in, comment with what we're doing. But some of the easiest ones to, when everybody asks what is 3D printing, it's usually, are they referring to FDM, which is what he's got sitting right there, or an SLA or LCD, which is a resin printer. Two different types, totally different types of process. I have both. I have the Ender 3 V2 sitting downstairs right next to my resin printer. It's an Anycubic Photon. But where you want to go with this stuff first, happy to hit on whatever you want, but hold up just some websites. So if you guys are seeing this one, kind of what the technology is, why it's used.
Right. Yeah. No, I think
wherever you want me to run with this, John, I'm happy to dig into whichever one you want first and go through that.
Yeah. So, and I like that. And so, are you guys still hearing me? Because I'm seeing I'm popping up on slobs, but I'm not sure.
Or if somebody else.
No, it's me. It's me.
No,
right?
John's.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So hang on one second
fun.
here.
Right.
It is.
Well, just keep talking. SLA. There's a couple different types. And Patrick, jump in if you have anything else to say on this one too. What he's got running right now is going to heat up the filament.
Yeah.
Probably 200 degrees is where mine sits at.
That's what I'm running, 200, yeah.
Same. But usually run about 200 degrees depending on the filament.
Yeah, what you're running, yeah, because PTG runs...
Heats it up and then it will run a
little hotter
base layer to make sure you have enough adhesion.
Yeah.
And then it just goes layer by layer. The FDM printers can take a lot longer, resin printer, just based on the technology.
Right.
Have a full build plate. depending on your settings, your infill, your all that good stuff, you're looking at times 2-3 days for a single print or longer.
Yeah.
Whereas I can run a very large mini on my resin printer, and the technology is a little different. I can have a very large mini done in about 4 hours instead of 4 days on an FDM printer. There's a big difference on time, how the technology works.
You know, some of the
Still not
stuff.
hearing those guys, so
Some of the stuff that they come out with now.
Wait, so you're not hearing him
working
either?
on it.
treatment.
Not hearing me?
Sure.
Can't hear you, John.
No, so but you're not
I'll
hearing
just
him
jump
either,
into
right?
Patrick, or it's like
We had a
Good
question
question.
from
Sure.
Iculus as well.
Okay.
It says, I'm 100% noob at 3D printing. My biggest concern is having read a lot about airflow and ventilation. How big of a concern is this? I'd have to put it in my home office, and that's just a normal room with no real special ventilation.
Sure. It is something you need to be aware of, especially resin. The fumes that are coming off of those, depending on the type, some are a little more harsh and can cause some issues, especially with sensitivity. You'd make sure you know what you're running in your home. I have mine in my basement. You can definitely smell it, but I'm working on putting in just a simple, like a bathroom fan that pumps right out over to a air vent that I have on the side of my house to help clear my stuff out of there. But a lot of people put them in their garages. A lot of people put them in just open rooms where they can just crack a door. Like mine in my basement, I could flip my door open, put a fan right by the basement, and let it air out, and it would be fine. Temperature is a big deal. And I think the
Ventilation.
treatment process after resin, that was another question that just popped up in there too. That goes right along with it. I have a curing station that washes it. So when I run my prints, as soon as they're done, I pull them off and put them in a alcohol bath, a large tank that has a little propeller in there that washes them. Just 91% alcohol to clean them off. Once those are done washing, 10, 12 minutes, pull them out of there, get them off the build plate, take the supports off. And somebody in here, I can't remember who it was, we were chatting a little bit ago, might have been Pat Draws or one of those. They take their prints and put them in a vat of hot water. And it helps just to soften up the supports so they can get them off a lot easier. And thank you for telling me that, because I was breaking a few, and then when I finally found out the last few, I chuck in a vat of hot water and let it sit while I'm cleaning off my build plate. Dude, those things come right off, and then I can throw them underneath the UV light, and it cures them. Throw them in for 12 minutes and cures them nice and solid. And so there is some cleanup. There's definitely some things I'll actually, I don't know if they're back or what, but I can kind of show you some things you need to consider if you're wanting to get into this.
And so
types of printers.
Are you guys hearing me
are
at all?
best for
Nothing at
what?
all?
Wow.
Unbelievable. It was working fine before the stream. No, the viewers are hearing me, so they're hearing me,
No.
but you're not hearing me.
Hold on, let me
I think
turn
it's
on
just
my.
me and you.
I'm gonna turn on my Twitch volume so I
Yeah.
can hear if
I
I can
think-
hear him on Twitch.
I think
or
that's
if
good.
it's
Yeah, that's gonna have.
completely
We're gonna have to just
out.
go with
I
this.
have my Twitch muted.
This is part of
Yeah,
all
I
the new
think-
tech we have.
Oh,
So
yep. I can hear you on Twitch, John.
that's what I was saying. All the Twitch people can hear us. It's something funky happening with Zoom again.
All right.
We'll keep
So it's a
working
little
on
bit
it.
delayed.
Yeah, you'll have a little bit of delay, but if you guys can work with me on this, our audience is hearing everything. So yeah,
Okay.
great comments. Right now we're looking at the extruder happening on the ender, and it's really neat to watch this in process. But yeah, that tip that you just gave, Mike, there were a lot of people popping up in chat saying that's really good. They've used that before. And I think that's something that has always been a barrier for me jumping into 3D printing. Really two things. One, the process of cleaning off the supports, or what I would call in modeling flashing. And then also you got to paint everything. So I really, it's a whole other burden. I've got a lot of plastic guilt sitting all around me here. So maybe talk about those two things.
Yeah, that's a collection of goodness. I don't know what you're talking about. I've got a closet full of stuff that is primed, and anyway.
So Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, it is something you need to be aware of. If you want to switch over to my screen again.
Oh, sure. There you go. It's up.
So there you go. There is, depending on what you're wanting to do, there is a list here that you can kind of look through. Filament printers, what do you want to use it for? And then down at the bottom, here's your cleanup and safety. It is something you need to wear, absolutely.
Would you zoom in on that just a bit? It looks a little small on the screen for me, so just like control scroll mouse. There you go.
Yep.
All right. So what would you say are the main tips?
Well, one would be, for me, what I learned was you got to know where to set your printer in the room, especially like this one, because if it's under, like I can feel the air, if it's under an air vent, the air vent can actually, the cold air or things like that can actually impact the print, make it pop off the table, make it layer shift, things like that. Things you wouldn't even think about. That, the air traffic flowing over your printer will cool it more than you want it to be cooled, and it can affect the quality of the print. And like what Mike was saying about the filament, there's some crazy stuff that they make out of filament. Now they have like Kevlar filament, has actual pieces of metal in it. They have wood filament, which actually has small pieces of wood to get that kind of look. And so there's glow in the dark filament now. There's a range of colors. I always go black because it's easy to print and paint. But things like, things you wouldn't think about, like where the printer's going to be sitting.
Right.
Where is it going to be stationed? Like now he has the resin, and that's one thing that I was looking at resin, but then I was like, okay, I don't have a place to vent it. I don't have a garage that's heated or anything like that, so it's not going to be a good place to put it in the bonus room. So FDM was and when you talk about the difference in the printers, and like what Mike was saying, what do you want to do with it? You want to print minis, you're going to go resin. You want to print terrain, you're going to go FDM, because it depends on the level of quality you want from the print, basically.
So I think that really touches on Josh's question a moment ago. He was asking about the difference between the FDM and the resin, or the filament and the resin. And I've always felt like the resin can give you more detailed stuff on your minis, whereas you're going to get less expensive and faster process with the filament. Is that kind of a good way to look at it?
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure cost-wise, like this tree maybe cost me $1, $2 of material, maybe less than that. So a roll is $20, $22, $23. So you're going to get a lot of wear and tear out of your cost is going to be a lot better when you're printing stuff like that.
Well said. Well said. All right, so let me throw it back over to Mike and his screen, and also Evelyn. You can let us know if there are any questions we need to answer. But Mike, we are now looking at your screen again.
I have a question from Vivi.
Go ahead.
Her question was, what has been your favorite thing you've printed on both printers?
Holy cow. For me, I have, if you want, if it'll show up, I have a couple of different prints that I did of whatever this guy is, a Nordic god giant, and it can kind of show you a little bit of what we're talking about as far as
Oh, wow.
quality.
Sweet.
So this guy,
That's amazing.
is in resin. Trying to see if you can see like
Mm-hmm.
sword.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 100% resin, and then I ran the exact same file in FDM. I wanted to see the difference. Same file, just swap printer. The quality is definitely not there.
Wow. Look at that.
Good, it's okay, but resin, definitely, this is one of my absolute favorites. I just haven't painted it yet. There is a big difference.
No, that's, a huge
That's
difference.
one of my favorite ones that I've done on my resin printer so far. On my FDM printer, I have the one that Patrick gave me, the file for the Elven library that is in our Discord
Yeah.
I think in the Discord mini, I put pictures of that one up. Those are my two favorites so far.
Nice. So Evelyn, you can queue up any other questions, but let me come back to Patrick. Same question. So favorite things you've printed. You've got a lot of your material here.
Yeah.
Let me pull this up and I'll actually show some of it.
I would say the dungeon tiles are some of the best that I like because I like modular stuff that can just go together in pieces. Those files were actually free, so it didn't cost me anything but material. Probably the thing I printed latest.
So you say this is mildly less expensive than Dwarven Forge, is what you're saying?
Just a tad, just a tad. Quality, I mean, now Dwarven Forge is going to be a little more hardy,
Right.
a little thicker, but this, I mean, I'm not a traveling DM or anything per se, but that works. And print it, paint it, and it's good. I would say the Witch's Hunt is probably the latest one that I have really liked, just because the way the rocks, the trees, just it turned out really well. And Mike's got his.
Connection briefly. It's a ghost of errors happening here.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
was
think
like,
we're still
I
live.
completely
We're
lost the
back.
sound.
It was charades. I didn't kill the sound. Like everything is just, we got all kinds of wonky stuff happening here tonight. I don't know. It's the challenge with streaming. It happens, but I think it's getting better. All right. So continuing on. Any other questions we had, Evelyn?
The only other one was another one from Vivian, and she had said the most important question: have you ever printed a beholder?
I have not.
So I think another really fun.
I have one sliced right now on my queue.
And when you say sliced, for us that are less experienced with the tech, what does that mean?
So each printer, doesn't matter which type it is, it's going to come with some sort of a program for taking a STL file and convert it, change it, get different sizes, and then add supports that you're going to need to print. Once you're done and you have it where you want it, how you want it, you have to slice the file. That means taking it into layers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Pat uses, Chitterbox. There's several different programs you can use. Whatever it is that converts it over so your printer can read it. That's what slicing is. Takes the entire graphic and slices it into each layer.
That makes sense.
And on that slicer, like I was telling John earlier, like you can, like in these 3 trees, you can make them, that's 100%, that's 75%, and that's 125%. You can make them bigger, you can lay them down, you can spin them, you can do whatever you want to do. Like when Mike and I were printing the haunted windmill, the bottom level was so big it wasn't going to fit on my plate, on my build plate. But for some reason it fit on his build plate, and he sent me a picture of it, and it was fitting. So what I had to do is I had to take mine and I had to invert it, take it down through basically cut it in half, build half of it, then flip it over, and then build the other half up. Instead of flat, build it inverted, and so it would print because it wasn't going to fit.
Wow. Really interesting.
So if the slicer sees that it's going to overhang or it's going to get too close to the side, it won't slice it. It'll say it's too big.
That makes sense. And you've also got here pieces like this. I like the hedgerows. You mentioned the hedgerows, and I was not that excited about them, but now that I see them in person, they're actually really cool.
Yeah, the maze hedge looks really good.
Yeah, it's really neat how that hedgerow is done. All right. So now, when you're talking about resin, what does the resin process look like as different from the FDM process in terms of what the machine actually does?
So your typical resin printer it has a vat that, like a bowl, that you put your resin in. Has a clear bottom on it that allows light to come through. When you have that on there, it sits over the top of your screen that is emitting light through, whether it's SLA, LCD, just depending on what type. It all kind of works the same for resin printers. The build plate, where the one that you have there in your studio is facing up and it's building up off of the build plate. A resin printer, the build plate is upside down and it comes down into the resin and it is cured one layer at a time, so it actually builds upside down on the build plate. My printer is an LCD, so when each of those slices that the file, when it's sliced, each of those slices, the LCD screen knows where to emit the light through based off those slices. Just that slice allows light through. That light touches the liquid resin and cures it. Then the resin, or the build plate, lifts and allows the resin to flow back underneath, and then it comes back down, and each one of those layers, it moves up slightly as it goes.
Right.
That's how it builds. Good thing about those, no matter how many things, whatever, if it's on your build plate, one layer prints at one time, where the FDM printers, like I was saying, it has to go around every single spot, so it takes a lot longer.
No, yeah, that I get that. And so when you look at something like with the detail, Evelyn, Terry showed last night on stream before we got kicked off. He had a really slick mini, highly detailed. That's a resin print, correct? Yeah, I would think so. And then when you talk
he
about,
does all of his minis with resin.
I thought so. Now, when you look at something like Hero Forge, are they using any of these sort of technologies that we're talking about, or do they have something completely different that they're using to produce their minis?
They use a filament printer, and you can kind of tell by the texture on the minis. When you get them, you can kind of see each of the layers, whereas with the resin printer, doesn't give you that same texture.
Some of that also would depend on your it's an SLA or an LCD or DLP too.
Right.
It's the SLA. SLA is the older version of kind of the technology. Those you can definitely see build lines in, a lot like the FDM printers. So it's kind of hard to tell. Sometimes some of the new stuff now, the LCDs, the 4K stuff that's coming out, you can't see the build lines. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been waiting for. I didn't really want to dive in until I felt like I had something that for a beginner I could have out of the box, look, cool and amazing. And that's the way of technology, right? Everything gets easier and easier and better and better. Patrick, did you have a thought on this?
Well, I mean, like we were talking about, it's all a matter of what you're comfortable with, of your level of quality. If you're going to go, you want high-level quality print, you want seamless, it's resin. There's no other, I can't get I've printed, now this is the only real mini I've ever printed, and it was big. And you can print a big mini, it's going to be okay. But anything that is small and detailed, the filament printer just cannot keep up with it. It just can't show the detail. So if you're wanting terrain and big pieces and things that you can get away with lines,
right?
Because you're not staring at the mini, it's the table,
right?
Then that's the filament side. Then that's why I went that direction, because I was like, I got enough minis. I got the Bones 5 in, and I got all the stuff when I was the Ralpartha and the Grenada stuff. I got all that sitting at the house. I just needed terrain. And so it's about what you need.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good way to look at it. Now, we had a question from Bloodwild, Steve, a moment ago, asking about how difficult this is for a total beginner to set up. And I would guess the resin is more challenging.
That was actually from Iculus. He was resharing the.
Oh, he was sharing
question.
it. That's right. Thank you, Evelyn. So talk about setup, any of you, and the differences between these technologies. If you've never done this before and you want to jump into it, what's easier and how much time is involved to get this where it's even halfway decent?
Well, I'll tell you how I did mine. So when I ordered my...
I'll just go off of what my experience was if you want.
Yeah, let's start with you, Mike, because I know you guys are getting a bit of audio lag. Let's start with you, Mike, and then we'll come back to you, Patrick.
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right. Yep, we are. Okay. I got into it basically the same way and what Pat wanted. I wanted to do terrain because I had a ton of minis. Getting into it, there is a lot just to learn, and it's just like anything. It's not terribly difficult. It is just there's a lot of little things that can really screw up your print. Learning those things, learning the tweaks, the small things can take some time. They're very finicky, or at least they can be until you get them dialed in.
Yeah.
But once they're dialed in and once you've learned a few of the tricks and a few of the things that I had to just watch videos, and it's not terribly difficult or too hard to get into. That's something that jump into it. You got me, Pat, there's a bunch of us in here. I'm happy to help anybody. Shoot me messages. I'll help you with what I can. Cost-wise is, $200 for the printer, $25 for a roll of filament. You're rocking and rolling. STL files, you can get a bunch of them for free. You don't even need to pay a bunch of money for STL files. There is a lot of places out there to get free files.
All right, but so that's really good. But can you contrast the setup between resin and the filament? And then a follow-up question: if I don't spend $200, if I spend $1,000, what am I getting?
Oh man, I wish I had $1,000 to spend. Just your basic setup. You're gonna need to get the printer itself. What comes with that, at least with the same one I have as his, it has everything you need right out of the box, ready to go. It even comes with a sample. Getting the filament in, learning how to heat it up, slice your files, get it printed, ready to go. Cool. The setup for the resin is a little different. The process is different. The equipment's a little bit different. The cleanup afterwards is going to be different too. So there is so many YouTube videos out there, so many Reddit posts out there for whatever printer you have. It's not hard. It just takes time, but it is different. It's very different between the two.
Any thoughts you have, Patrick, on that?
Well, when I got mine...
For $1,000?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, it's all right. Let's go with the delay. Mike, go ahead. My question...
Keep going, Pat. I'll pull up a couple of examples.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
So when I bought mine, I got on YouTube. YouTube's the best. You want to know how to put something together, you know how to fix something, somebody on YouTube knows something. And it was 3D Printed Horrors, I think was the name of the guy. And he said, here's a video that will step by step tell you how to put your Ender 3 together. And so one Saturday, I got on the kitchen table, put cardboard down so my wife was good. I sat down and put this thing piece by piece. I would pause the video, do what he said, and he was like, do this now because you don't have to do it later, things like that. I think it took maybe an hour and a half to set it up. Got a printed it, turned out pretty dang good. And I was like, well, this is good. But one thing that he was kind of telling was, this is a hobby, and it's good if it's a hobby that you can tinker with stuff.
Right.
Because you're going to have to do maintenance on your printer. You're going to have to change the Bowden tube, which is this blue tube. Because you got to figure that blue tube goes all the way down into the heat box, and it's eventually going to burn. And we're talking millimeters. So the slightest burr in the Bowden tube will cause prints to look wonky.
Mm-hmm.
Your nozzle on the end, they're going to burn out every once in a while, and they're going to have issues where they get clogged. I bought, I think, 30 nozzles for the printer for like $20 on Amazon. Just raise it up, unscrew it, screw a new nozzle in, reset it. The bed leveling, you got to level your bed every now and then. No big deal. There was a file that I got from a guy where the printer will go around to each thing on the bed and you level it with these knobs on the bottom. So it's a good hobby if you're good at tinkering. If you're good at now if you want to set it up and you want to let it go and you want the best prints ever, but you don't want to mess with it, that's just not going to happen.
Right. But is there a difference in the cleanup and maintenance with a resin printer? Because you talked about the burrs and the tube and all that, but resin's completely different. Have you worked with resin?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
So we'll let Mike answer that question. We're going to come back to him in a second, and I think he's pulling up some things about what the difference is between a $200 and a $1,000 printer is. But before we do that, real quickly, I want Mike to see this. Patrick, you've got something interesting here at the base of your printer. I don't think that's OEM. What is that we're looking at right there?
Well, there's a fan that is right here for the basically the motherboard.
That is Tennessee as well.
Exactly.
And so a lot of people print covers for their fans to keep little bits from falling in there and getting stuck. So I went and looked at, you just go into like a site like Thingiverse, and you type in fan cover for Ender 3. That one popped up, and me used to have a 74 Dodge Challenger when I was growing up as a kid. I was like, yeah, that's going to be my fan cover right there because that's pretty cool.
We have a lot of Gen Z folks that watch our show, and so if you've never seen one of these, that's a blower that sits on top of a naturally aspirated motor, V8. Does not work with a Tesla or electric vehicle or a Nissan Leaf. It goes on a good red-blooded American V8 motor and pushes a lot of air into the motor, which increases the power of combustion happening inside those pistons, which gives you more torque and horsepower and makes the car faster. And I guess Patrick feels like that might make his printer faster.
It makes my print times just a little bit slow, a little bit faster.
All right, let's come back over to you, Mike. Go ahead.
All right. We'll hit on a quick, just the $1,000 printer compared. Most of the $200-$300 printers that you can get into are going to be fantastic for any home printing you want to do. If you want to get super creative, you want to be able to do multiple filaments at a time, they have different types of extruders. If it's a direct drive extruder where the filament goes right into the hot end and there's no play in the Bowden tube like he said he has on his, that's probably a Capricorn that you have.
Yeah.
The auto leveling, heated bed, that all helps with your adhesion. The bed size itself, the bigger you go, the more volume that you print, you're going to be paying a lot. Mm-hmm. The more you go up, your price is going to go up big time. But the one that I have up here, this Prusa, that's a $1,000 printer right there. Has multiple that you can do. There's so many good ones out there. On regards to cleanup for resin, it is a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm. I thought so.
The alcohol that you need, gloves. Some people, depending on the resin, you may want to have some sort of respiration covers, depending on how toxic the resin is. A lot of them are getting very good as far as fumes go. The ones that I have, again, I use a vat of alcohol. So I put on gloves every single time. Once I get everything cleaned off, I have some rags that I wash separately by themselves so they're not washed with anything else. Everything, my scraps all go in at one bag out to the garbage, and I have air ventilation set up in there. There is more to it. The plastic that melts, depending on the filament, that's Hatchbox, I think that you've got.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I use. Yep. There's very, very little smell coming off of that.
Yeah, I don't smell anything in the room right now. Yeah.
I had that sitting right next to me on my desk. Yeah.
Interesting. So we had a couple questions. Yes, you're right, Steve. That blower motor would work on a Gremlin, no problem. A Pinto, you're nuts if you do that. But yes, you can put a blower on any naturally aspirated gasoline motor. But you already knew that, didn't you? Many people love Ender due to the huge community. And I think that's a great point because anything you're doing with technology, the more support you have, which is the sharing of files, the sharing of ideas and content, that's an important part of it.
Yeah, there's a huge community of like Reddit.
100% agree. That's why I got into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's Facebook groups for Ender 3s, things like that. There's all kinds of groups where I remember seeing people come on and say, okay, I've got this problem. What's going on with my printer? And people will be, okay, is your bed level? Is this? It's this. Of course, you ask a question to people with, a group with 1,000 people in it, you may get 1,000 answers
right.
too. But you're going to have a starting point of what am I doing and where can I get some help? And so community groups are huge in things like this where you can bounce ideas off of each other, bounce problems to get solutions.
No, so, and if either one of you want to pop some of those community groups or Reddits that you guys use in the chat, that would be helpful. And let me talk quickly about the giveaways that we have coming up. Hey, Sorrow's Tale, good to see you. Our friend here, Fraley17, Patrick, as you know him in our Discord, Fraley17, always in chat, big friend of the show. So he's giving away several pieces tonight, and we are... part of the process here. We're struggling with some audio stuff. You say, why didn't you struggle with this last night? I did. You just didn't see it. The DM fought audio all night last night on my end, and the fix has created a little problem with Discord tonight. The audience is hearing us fine. My Zoom folks are not hearing me quite so well. But we're going to give away this guy, this 3D printed tree. I'll just do it here, and it's got a removable top. So if you want to have a tree that's sort of stubbed, maybe this is in winter, maybe it's freshly trimmed, you've got that. But then you also have this topper, which can be placed on it, or it can be dropped on the ground as a bush. This is already painted. So this is a pre-painted 3D print model of a tree. And let me hold it up to a mini. I won't hold it to Brim. He's a little bit big. But, you can see here, I think that's really nicely sized. That's a good sort of tree height for a mini. And that's going to be given away tonight. And then, we have 3 of the printed tops tonight that we'll give away. And these can be used as bushes. So these guys here, now these are not painted. So I've got the larger one here and a couple of the smaller ones. So we'll give those away tonight, and we'll do that here in just a few minutes. But thank you so much, Patrick. No problem. And I think our print has finished, has it not?
It has. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah, let's see the process of removing this.
Take off the clips. And it's best to do it while the bed is still warm. Now, Mike will get me for this, but I am a firm believer in glue sticks. And I know he does not. But I have never, in printing for however many years, had a print come off the bed using a glue stick. So, but you just got to pry it off with a little knife.
Here, hang on. Let me bring this cam up here so people can watch this process real quick here. All right, go ahead.
So you just pry it off. There's the print. Now, you got to clean up a little bit of burrs.
100% glue stick.
What?
I think he's agreeing with the use of the glue stick.
Oh.
I use them all the time.
Okay.
That's one of the best things I ever found out. Yes.
That's what I did too. You just take a look, and so when school started back up, I bought a whole ton of them because they were like cheap as all ever. You just take a little glue stick, pop it on there, and it comes off. So the little burrs just kind of come right off, and there's your print. Wow. And then that versus the the resin, it's ready to paint, ready to be done, ready to put on the board.
Now, quick question for you. When you say ready to paint, how much paint will this suck up? Like, do I have to overcoat it with primer, or is this just like a regular mini?
It's just plastic. It's not going to soak it up.
Not overly porous?
Nope. So I would shoot it with a gray, or like I was telling you, I painted the tops green, painted the trunk brown with spray paint. That saves me time in painting. And then just go back and highlight, dry brush. It's done.
That's really cool. So that's the example of the smaller size. And we've got these tonight. These three were given away, not the new print.
Oh, you can do it. Yeah,
oh, really?
throw
Okay.
that one.
All
Sure.
right.
Why not?
So you got this, and here's the larger size bush, and that will be part of our giveaway along with this gorgeous printed tree that's already painted. Super cool. All right. Well, that was a really cool demo of the print, and that was not hard at all. That went pretty quick.
Yeah. Now that one I had sized down to like probably 25%, and so I wanted to get something that I was probably into about an hour worth of print. So I started it at home. Now the neat thing about, I don't know, I'd have to ask Mike. The neat thing about this printer is power goes out, it pauses the print. Power comes back on, you hit resume, it picks up where it left off. You don't lose the print. I don't know if that does that with resin. We'd have to ask him.
So that's a question that I think only really pops up for people that live in rural parts of Tennessee or anywhere in California where mandatory brownouts are happening. But yes, power outages can be a thing. How does that work with resin prints, Mike?
I haven't had the issue, so I'm not sure. I haven't had mine shut off. I think mine will do the same because I can pause mine. On the glue sticks, yes, use those things. It makes your adhesion so much better. If you want, I also told, I think in our chat, Pat and I were just chatting off screen before. I told you, I think too, I'm happy to do a giveaway too of a resin print. So you can throw that in there too.
Cool.
Wow. All right. Look at that. That is, can you get that closer to the screen? Yeah. So that is, I can barely see. What am I looking at there? It's not the print, it's the camera. The camera's not focusing on it. I can see there's a high level of detail. I'm not quite got it there.
I sent one to you. John,
In
you should
Discord?
check in your mail. You get one of those exact same ones coming. So
Oh, thank you so much. If you have a pic of that.
in your mailbox.
Yeah, no, I got that. Yeah. So if you have a pic of that, send it to me, and I'll post it up as well. But yeah, that looks gorgeous. Thank you so much. So what exactly is it, Mike? What is that print? Because the camera wasn't focusing.
The name of it is something the faceless. It's almost like a nature creature.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you the pictures and tell me what you think it is.
All right, very cool. All right, Evelyn, have we missed any questions in the chat? I know there were several comments. Anything you think we should address?
I have 4 questions.
Fire away.
So 2 of them were from Robert. They were, can you talk about the treatment process with regards to resin? And his other one was, how often are you needing to replace the nozzles on the filament printer?
All right, so let's go the filament first, and then we'll go to the resin.
So Pat with
Okay.
the
Okay.
pretty on your end. I'll talk about the other one.
For mine, I've replaced a nozzle twice in 2 years, 2.5 years. So it's not, the key is what you do with your machine. Like if you want to shut your machine down mid-print, like to pause it like I did to bring it here, you got to let it cool because there's fans blowing on that nozzle to cool it naturally like that. If you just go and just turn it off, that heat's going to go somewhere. It's going to go in that Bowden tube, it's going to go in that nozzle, and it's going to make a mess. So if it cools slowly, you save a lot of wear and tear on your equipment. So I've replaced 2 nozzles in 2 years.
Oh, wow. Very cool. All right, resin, Mike.
Man, the only thing I've really had to replace on that printer of mine is the clear film that's on the bottom of the vat that will wear out. It's kind of like your nozzles, same thing. On the upkeep, I think somebody was asking about the wash and cure.
Yeah,
how
they were
that
wanting to know
works.
the treatment
Sure.
process. Yeah.
Alcohol first washes off all the excess resin. When the print gets done, leave it on there, let the excess drip off. Pull that off of there, get it off the build plate, and wash it with alcohol. 91% alcohol. Once it's washed, I mean, I started out with just in a bowl with alcohol and a toothbrush, soft, very, very soft toothbrush. I could dip it in there, wash it off, and then take it out and set it on my porch in the sun. UV light works the same. I have a UV cure station made by Anycubic that does it all. It's a little vat that I can put the alcohol in, wash them, pull them off, put it in there, flip the light on, and let it as a turntable, and it cures them. 12 minutes later, they're rock solid, ready to go.
Well, no, that's awesome. And yeah, so the Chav Hunter had a question, 88. We talked about this earlier. Filament is the consensus choice for terrain, larger piece items. Resin, definitely the choice for detail work and minis. But, you know, Mike, you absolutely lost Bloodwild Steve. The moment you mentioned 91% alcohol, his mind was somewhere else, and I think he went to the closet. So no worries, my friend. All right. So I think we have two other questions, Evelyn.
I can show you. It's cool.
So Pat66 asked, how often do you need to clean the board after or before use?
Clean the what?
The board.
Once it gets kind of tacky, once you have maybe some burrs sticking up on it, some things that you didn't get off, I can take that to your kitchen right now, put it in hot water, and since it's a glue stick, I can have that bed cleaned in 3 minutes, and it'll be brand new. Now this is and I use a glass plate. The Ender comes with a non-glass plate, but mine, through trial and error, I burnt the plate up, which was, you know, it happens, and so I went with a glass plate for durability. It's got a little bit of tackiness on it, but that glue, that glue is still sticky right now.
Okay.
So I could fire it up right now, wouldn't even have to touch it, print something else.
And so you said the cleaning will happen when it gets a burr,
Yeah.
How many prints typically can you do? Is it one? Is it 5? Is it 10? Where you feel like you got to get in there and scrub it in the kitchen?
I just don't want it to build up little mounds of glue anywhere. As long as it's flat, it'll print fine. Once I have something built up, then I can just take it to the kitchen and clean it.
All right, so I can feel sort of tactily
Right.
there is some, but that would not be enough to cause a problem. I could print.
No,
Yep,
it's
I
fine
keep
right
printing.
now. Yeah,
Interesting.
It's fine right now.
Okay. All right, Evelyn, I think we had one more.
Yeah, Sorrow's Tale had a couple questions in there. They said, how is the chemical smell, and what is the cost of mats?
Resin first. The biggest smell is from the resin. I think Mike Disney said in here he has 2 of them. He doesn't have any issues with the smell. Depends on how sensitive you are. Depends on the resin. Some of them can be extremely potent, extremely pungent. A bottle, I can get a bottle, 500 milliliters for like $15. It's not much. The alcohol I get from Walmart or from Bloodwild or whatever, it's not terribly expensive. It's really not.
Okay. What about the fact I've not smelled anything in the room tonight?
No, I can have it. I've let the printer run all night long, you know, for big prints. When you have a print that's going to take upwards of 2 days to print because of just how either massive it is or the design of it, there's prints that can go for 2 days. And so I can turn the printer on as long as I've got enough filament that I think I got enough. I can let that printer run for 24 hours, 48 hours, and it just sit there and run. And we've never smelled anything, never had any issue. And it's sitting right underneath a smoke detector. So if anything ever did happen, I would be alerted to it.
So that's a pretty good filament spool there. What size is that filament spool?
Well, let's see. I have no idea. I know it says it has enough on it. Let's see. Let's see. It's 1 kilogram. It's I don't know if it gives it how much it is.
But that's, I mean, it looks pretty good size to me. So you could run that for 24 hours, 48 hours?
Yeah. I mean, when you first get them, they're pretty full. They're all the way out to the end. And then that one's about to, I can run a few more prints on that before it needs to be changed.
Okay. And this guy's pretty sizable. So how long would it take to print something like this? You can see this is a good, I'm going to say he's 7.5 inches tall, pretty wide. And how long did this take to print?
Now that's solid. It's not 100% solid. It's probably 20% infill, which means the inside of it basically looks almost like a honeycomb or a hexagonal kind of look. So it's not completely filled. Now, if you completely fill it, that's going to be more time, more filament.
But you wouldn't really, as long as the
probably,
honeycomb gives the structural strength, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That probably took, if I can remember, that was at least a day and a half.
A day and a half.
To print.
Yeah, okay. That's about what I would have thought. All right, Evelyn, anything else that's popped up in the chat?
Pat66 asked, any resin printer recommended for a beginner?
So there's been a lot of talk about Ender, but Mike?
I use a Anycubic.
Sorry.
So sorry, the lag's killing me.
I know. I'm more frustrated than you are. I promise you. Thank you for your patience.
Photon Mono.
Photon Mono. Can you pull that up on your screen?
I have an Anycubic Photon Mono. I know. Yes. Yep. Sure will. Right there.
All right. I'll switch over so you guys can see it. This is the recommendation.
Mine. There's so many good ones. That's any of the Elegoo, Mars, the Elegoo. Elegoo's a ton of them. These are right here. Whatever you want to go after, really. I would suggest an LCD screen or going with the 4Ks.
Okay. And what made you choose those two? Like what when the question came up, you did not hesitate. You went to those two printer options. What about those do you like, Mike?
For me, just getting into this, I had a buddy of mine who actually plays on my table who had an Elegoo, and I got to watch how he set his up, watch the issues that he ran into his. I did some research, found the Anycubic here. One thing I really liked about it is the leveling. It's 4 bolts, and there's one screw that keeps the build plate level. The Elegoo has a knob on the top, and it's like a ball. It's almost like a socket, so it can swivel. He had issues with his, not saying that everybody's going to have the issues. It is a dang good printer. I wanted to go with this one based on the reviews that I had, and it was an LCD screen, which was the next upgrade in how it actually cures resin. And it was a steal when I got it. It came with resin and stuff, so price, what I want to use it for, all that good stuff. And seeing a buddy that had some issues with his, he then since got the X version of this that is a much bigger build plate, and it's about $600, $550 right now.
Okay. Interesting. I love that. All right, so another question from Robert. How difficult was it to get the Ender leveled properly?
Not very difficult. There's a guy who puts out YouTube videos called Chet, and he actually gave away a bed leveling file. And so I could go in and look at the file, hit the file, and what the printer will do is it will go to each corner. And what everybody usually does is a Post-it note. You get a Post-it note, and when the printer comes down, if you feel a slight tug, that's close as you want to be. If you can move the paper in and out easily, you want to turn the knob. You want to raise the bed closer to the nozzle. You want just enough of that nozzle on that table just to be, because like we were talking about earlier, we're talking millimeters. So you got to be close enough to the table but not too close enough to the table, because then your prints get squished. So what it would do is it would go to each corner, and so when it goes to the corner, I would sit there with a piece of paper. Okay, we're good. Okay, that one needs to turn a little bit, and then it would go to the center. The center's kind of iffy because if you got a warped board or anything like that, so I kind of get close on the center, but the corners really do the print good. And so once you level it, I haven't leveled mine in several prints, because as long as you don't bump it, move it, twist a knob accidentally, it's going to stay level for a pretty good while before you need to just do it out of, like we were talking about, maintenance. So it's not difficult at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound too difficult. And there we go, and should be coming back in just a second.
Okay.
There we go. We're back
There we
now.
go.
All right. So, Mike, my comment. Do you have any other comments on the leveling process that you've used? I know, guys. Just stay with us. This is part of getting better. It's the improvement process here at Blue Box. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but we're always going to take those 2 steps forward, and it's going to be rocking here in a couple of weeks. All right, Mike, go ahead.
All good. The first thing I did was swapped out the bed leveling springs on mine. I have the Ender 3 V2, which is the one, the version just after one that they're in the studio. It has the same build plate, heated build plate that is glass, and I swapped out the bed leveling springs that are. You can see the little knobs on the screen that you're looking at underneath. Those are what level the corners of the plate.
Okay.
There's springs underneath those. I traded mine out for a little bit stiffer springs, and once you get that thing dialed in, I use the same paper underneath to level it out, get the nozzle down to where you just drag it where you need it. But you can actually go in and buy from Reality that makes those printers an auto bed leveler that you can add on to it, so it comes down and touches and it does it for you. A lot of the more expensive one, that's a standard stuff. There's a couple upgrades. So if you're ever looking at getting one, there's a lot of them out there, and that was the one that was suggested to me was the springs and the extruder. Other than that, once that thing's leveled, I can run print after print after print, and I just tweak it. I can usually tell just by the first line that goes around where my level's at. If I'm squishing or if it's too far or starting to come off, I can adjust it on the fly and get it rocking. So
Yeah.
not hard once you get it leveled.
No, that makes sense. And before we go to some other questions, I think we've had some others that have popped up. I want to talk about what I like about this stuff for me. If I were to get one, I would probably lean toward the filament, only because of what Patrick mentioned. I have so many minis, and I've got so many highly detailed things that I still have to get painted. As a DM, I like terrain I can throw on my tabletop. I like these bigger sort of piece terrain items. So that's my particular application. But if I'm looking to create beautiful stuff with highly detailed work, then I'm definitely going with the resin option. If you take a look at these prints here, that Patrick Fraley 17 did, these remind me a lot of the old school resin-based prints from Dwarven Forge. So before they went to Dwarvenite, which I have a ton of that behind me, all the Dwarvenite stuff tends to be smaller, more modular, which is more customizable, but also takes more time to assemble. The older resin-based stuff from Dwarven Forge, so I'm going to hold this up, and this is lighter. This is Patrick's print. Really easy to put these long corridors together. This reminds me a lot of these guys over here, which were the original Dwarven Forge resin pieces. And so they were long, you pop them together, and now you have a corridor and a corner, just like what he's showing there, as opposed to all of these different bits and pieces that are this size that you have to assemble now with the newer stuff from Dwarven Forge. So it's just, as a DM, If you've got a lot of time to preset your setup, then these smaller pieces are fine. But if you're doing quick changes and you want to assemble large groups and settings, these kinds of prints, which you could easily do with the filament printer, are really, really useful for your DMing table. That's just my 2 cents on that. Evelyn, we had another question pop in, and then I would like to pop up a poll as well. So.
Yeah.
Real quickly, while you're getting ready to ask the question, I would like the poll to be 3 questions. What is your 3D printer? And if you say, I have a filament, I have a resin, I want a filament, or I want a resin. I'm curious to see what's in the audience in terms of who has either of the techs or who's thinking about buying either of the techs. And as you're doing that, you can go ahead and ask the question as well.
Okay, I have to do this first because I can't.
No, I know you're a multitasker.
Type in
Don't be so
time.
humble. All right, we'll go to you, Mike. You've got something up. You're showing us 3 different options here on your screen that we're looking at right now, Mike. So talk about that.
So yeah, just everybody's asking which one's the best, which one should they get. There are so many options out there. Depends on what you want. Said the Prusa, I think, is the one that I showed earlier, and that is a top pick. Prusas are always expensive, no matter where you look. That brand is expensive. The Crealities are built off of some of the same tech.
Can you zoom in more on that? It's a little bit small to see.
Way down. Budget pick. That's the one I have. Is right there. Let me.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Zoom in just a little.
Much better. Thanks.
There we go. So Reality Ender 3V2 is the one that I have. The Elegoo is one that some of the people were asking about. It is a good printer. It's and this is just all 3DP. I love this website. You guys, anybody's getting into it, jump on there. They have so many different things that you can learn from. Whatever you want to get into. And I'm 100% with John on this one. I got the Ender first because I wanted to do terrain. The resin one is just my toy that I get to play with. The other one is 100% terrain. I can build things for my game, my table. And I sent you, John, I think in Discord, straight through on the DM, the pictures of that mini. So.
All right, awesome. I'll pull those up. Yep, I got them. And so the question came up in the poll, what if you have one and want the other? If that's the case, just click the one you want. I'm curious, yes, what people have, but I'm more curious about what people want. So let me pull up this picture here, and I'll share that. Oops, sorry, guys. Wrong one. Over here. And...
there was a request for the printer links to be put up in the chat, please.
Okay. If you guys can pop that in there, that'd be great, Mike. All right, so you're looking at that print now, a much better view of the giveaway. And yeah, the detail on that is really impressive. Look at that. There's another angle you have here. Let me pull that one up real quick.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
And get this side of it.
Those tiny details you're not going to get with Nip.
No.
That's right.
It's just not going to happen.
Right.
And it's not, and you're going to have, like I was telling John earlier, you're going to have so many supports on that. Trying to get the supports off of it without breaking it is going to be almost impossible anyway. You're not going to get the detail, and plus you're going to have a great chance of that staff's going to get broke, but because you're going to snip all those supports off, you're going to break that staff easily.
Yeah. Now you can see that, and just the detail, and I guess those are scales or feathers or whatever's on the back of that. That's pretty heavily detailed. That's very cool.
Looks almost like leaves, doesn't it?
It does. Oh, yeah. That's probably what it is. It's leaves because it's like a nature creature. You're right. Duh. Very, very cool. All right. So the poll came up. 5 of you want filament. 4 of you want resin. 3 of you have filament. 1 of you has resin. Now, I need to know... And we're back.
I might not be able to hear him, but I definitely know what he said.
Did you read my lips?
Yes.
Sorry, guys. It was foot. That was the word, not the other word that you might have thought I said by watching me pronounce a hard F. I said I was going to put my foot through this computer. So, all right. So you have. It is
Coming.
all right. What can you do but laugh?
Oh my gosh.
It is the glitter from Rory. I know. It's pretty much.
I mean, it's Rory's fault.
It is. We can always blame Rory. What size foot am I going to use? Well, I'm an American, so a foot's a foot. It's 12 inches. So anyway, I know I had all kinds of rap lyrics that just went through my head, so I need to move on. All right, so we have 3 giveaways. What I'd like to do is I'm going to give away the tree, and then separately, if you don't mind, Patrick, I'd like to give away this as a bundle.
Sure.
So you got the bush bundle, which includes the large bush and 3 smaller ones. This here, and you have to paint these, so the tree is pre-painted. And then, of course, we have the giveaway that Mike has brought with us tonight. I do want to apologize to my guests tonight. I know this was frustrating, especially for not only you, Mike, but for you as well, Patrick, because there's this delay which is creating a lag, and it made it less pleasant. I will work tirelessly, and I would like to ask both of you at some point later this year if you'd be willing to come back. I want to do a deeper dive. We'll get some additional questions from the audience, and I will have all of this worked out. So I would love to have you guys come back. There's a real appetite for this topic out there, and people want to know. So would you sound you're okay? Would you be willing to do that also, Mike?
Absolutely. Sure.
All right. Thank you for your patience. All right. So it's like it's a USB mutiny
I'm not laughing
that's happening
because
here.
I know the struggle.
Okay. So let me go to Nightbot here and try to get this done before it does it again.
I was gonna say I have another question real quick.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
All right, good.
This was when it was from Iculus. It said, "This is a dumb question, but here we go. Do these connect directly to a PC, or can you send the prints to the printer through another storage device? I was thinking about maybe putting it in my storage building with no PC."
Great question.
Okay.
Depends on the printer. Some of them you can Bluetooth control it from your phone. I have just a thumb drive that I pop in, drop the files in, walk in, plug it in, and then I leave. So that's probably the same way his is.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, a little mini.
Oh, okay. Yeah, look at that. So yeah, he's just using that. That's a micro.
Yep.
It's a micro SD card is all he's using here, and he pops all that in directly. So he doesn't have a PC connected to this device in my room today.
Right.
All right. So your giveaway, we're going to do this 3 times quickly in succession, and then we're going to raid into Jay. So we won't do roll-offs or anything like that tonight. Mike, I'm going to pull your screen back up while I do this, just in case there's anything else you want to show. And first one, this is going to be for the 4 unpainted bushes, which include the larger and the 3 smaller. And the detail on these is, again, it's filament, but it's really good detail. Look at you can see the individual leaves and these bushes, a little bit of quick painting. And if you heard Patrick earlier mention, the way he does this is he'll put these all on a piece of cardboard. He'll spray paint them all with a green, a nice flat green, and then he'll go over and he'll do the highlights with a dry inputs here. Yeah, all right, we're back. So then it'll go from
There we go.
This to this with a simple spray of green spray paint and then the dry brushing that goes over the top. So that's a neat and quick tip. So thank you for that, Patrick. And so the first giveaway winner, type exclamation point giveaway for these unpainted is Damn Weirdo 2. Weirdo 2, are you still with us tonight? If you are, please just hit me up in our Discord and I'll get these out to you. Yes, he is. Congratulations. You have won 4 bushes that are great for your tabletop, nicely detailed. All right, let's go next to yours, Mike, and I'll pull the picture of it up again. Let me go to the front side pic. So this is a resin printed and it's a sort of nature creature. It's got a staff and horns, leaves across its back. Very cool print. And this one is going to go ahead and type giveaway again. Yes, do it again, Rigger Raven, just to make sure. I'll give everyone just a couple of seconds. It should be retaining. It looks like everyone is still in, but just to be sure, go ahead and type giveaway again to make sure you're in the giveaway. And this has not happened, but if the same person, in this case Weirdo, comes up, you can't win twice on the same stream, so we would do it again. All right, and let's do our second roll. I'll give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Hey, Ian, good to see you tonight. I didn't notice you earlier. Ambivalent Orange, I hadn't seen you in earlier either. Thank you so much. You probably were. I've only been paying half attention to the chat tonight. Thanks, everybody, for being with us. And the winner of this, Toriano Biggie Paw. Congratulations. You're getting this very cool mini. Toriano, I already have all of your info, so I will make sure you get this out. And now for the painted 3D print tonight from Fraley17. Patrick, thank you again.
Yep.
Look, taking your time, driving in from Lebanon to be here in my house. It's about a 40-minute drive for this guy tonight. He's got his printer set up. He brought all of his prints. It means a lot to us, and I want to say thank you so much for coming out. I do have some white chicken chili for you upstairs. But a little spoiler here. He brought something else I can't show you all tonight. And the reason I can't show you is because it is specific to one of the players on one of my streams, and it is the most epic thing I can't imagine. How long did that take to print?
That took quite a while because you're talking each level of it took several hours. So it's probably a good 15 to 20 hour print.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. So you will see it on a stream here at Blue Box.
With you.
All right.
Almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. The winner, and I cannot wait to finish this up and raid Jay, and then I am going to go kick my dog. No, I won't do that. I love my dog. But the winner, the lag, you can see when she hears what I'm saying. All right. The winner of the 3D print tree is William.
Listening. Got said.
Kicking the computer is allowed. Yeah, I know. So, William, Lord Forth, you are the winner of this, and I have your contact information as well. I want to say thank you to all of our viewers. You guys have been amazing to stick with us tonight through all of this ridiculousness. I promise you I will have these guys back, and everything will be so clean and pristine, and it'll just be an amazing night. I want to say thank you again to Mike Dingman, DM Dingbat. Check out his stream Every 2 weeks he's on, and he does a great job. And then, of course, Fraley17, Patrick, you know him through Blue Box, super active. Both these guys always in our community, always in our Discord. I'm really, really thankful to both of you. And then Evelyn, as always, our mod, our partner, and the better half here of Blue Box, who makes things happen. And I'm going to go ahead and kick off the raid tonight. And the raid goes, of course, to J. Lord Gazumba. And we're raiding in 9, 7, 6, 8, 4, 10, 27, 37, 4, 2, 1. Raiding now. Have a great evening. What are you doing? Yes, I forgot that. All right, everybody. Raiding J. Love you guys. Bye-bye.